Champions Cup Rugby is back, so I'm going to give you a quick guide to the two pools that we have this year and then go through the first round of fixtures as well. So before we get into who's in what pool, quick talk about the format this year. So similar to last year, I have a longer video on the exact format if you want to go and check that out on the channel as well. But basically we have two pools of 12. Each team will play 4 games, 2 home, 2 away. They will not play any teams from the same league as them, which is not the same in the Challenge Cup because of the way that is, it's a bit lopsided. They can't do that there. But in this one, yeah, we'll have no kind of URC teams playing each other or Premiership team playing each other either, or top 14, etc. After those 4 games, then the top ranked 8 teams from each of those pools go into the knockout stage. This year, we're not going to have like 2 legs for the round of 16. It's just going to be straight knockout. Round of 16, quarterfinal, semi-final, final, and then we crown a winner. The teams who finish between 9th, 10th and 11th in their respective pools will drop down into the Challenge Cup and compete in that competition from the round of 16 on. And the team that finished 12th and last in their pool will just be eliminated from European competition. So let's have a closer look at who is in each of these pools. So Pool A, we have Bordeaux Beagles from France, top 14. Last year, they finished 3rd in the top 14 table and were eliminated at the semi-final stage there. Currently, they're sitting 8th in the top 14 table, so not in the same form as they were last year. In this competition last year, they were eliminated in the round of 16. Next then we have the Bulls, the first South African teams. They play in the URC. Last year, they finished 4th on the log, but they were actually the runners-up. They made the final, got beaten by the Stormers there. Currently, they're sitting 2nd in the URC, so they're in some good form, making their debut in Europe and going to want to make a splash. Then we have Castres from France. They were 1st in the table for the top 14, but finished as runners-up there. They lost the final. They're currently 11th, so big drop-off in form for them this year. They're eliminated at the pool stages last year in the Champions Cup, and they're going to want to pick up that form if they're going to avoid that again this year. Then we have Edinburgh from Scotland playing the URC. They finished 7th in the URC last year. They were eliminated at the quarterfinal stages. They are currently sitting in 6th place, so kind of similar form. They made the quarterfinals of the Challenge Cup last year, so they didn't play in the knockout stages of this competition last year. They're going to want to make the knockout stages, especially seeing as they're the only Scottish representation in the Champions Cup this year. Next, we have Exeter Chiefs. They finished 7th in the Premiership last year. They're currently 7th there, so kind of similar form coming into this year. They made the round of 16 of this competition last year. They were the winners in 2020. So they've kind of dropped down their standards from when they were the winners, but still a dangerous team in this competition. Next, we have Gloucester. They're 5th in the Premiership. They finished 5th in the Premiership last year, and they're currently 4th there this year. So, decent form from them. They made the quarterfinals of the Challenge Cup last year. And again, they're another team that are going to want to kind of upset the apple cart a little bit in terms of the European hierarchy and make that knockout stages. Then we have Harlequins, who were 3rd in the Premiership table last year. They got eliminated at the semi-final stages. Currently 3rd again this year, so pretty good form from them. They made a round of 16 in this competition last year. Probably want to go a step further this year if they carry that form into Europe. Then we have Leinster, 1st in the URC last year, got eliminated at semi-final stages though by the Bulls, who were the runners-up in the end. Currently first again in the URC, unbeaten 9 from 9. They were runners-up in this competition last year as well. They're 4 times winners. The last win was in 2018, and a lot of people feel like that's like with the last year now for Stuart Lancaster there at Leinster, it's going to be a mission for them to win this title again this year. But there's a lot of stiff competition out there. It's certainly not going to be a cakewalk for them to be able to do that. Then we have Leon, 9th last year in the top 14. Currently 6th. They qualified for this because they're the winners of the Challenge Cup from last year. So they bumped out the 8th place in top 14. No real pedigree to speak of in this competition though. Then we have Racing 92. They finished 6th and they were eliminated at the semi-final qualifier in that competition last year. Currently 2nd in the league. Last year, they made the semi-finals of this competition as well. They've been 3 times runners-up. Last time was 2018. They're one of these teams that, will feel like if they can get on a run, maybe this is their year to get their first title. Then we have Saracens from the Premiership. They finished 2nd in the Premiership log last year. Ended up being runners-up. They're top of the league there in 1st place. They made a semi-final of the Challenge Cup last year. Didn't play in this competition last year. They've 3 times previous winners. Last time was 2019. Another team who will feel that they have what it takes to win this competition. Then we have the Sharks from South Africa, URC team, finished 5th in that competition last year. They got eliminated quarterfinal stages. Currently 10th this year. They were in decent form earlier on in the season, kind of dropped off a bit now. They've no history in this. Like all the South African teams, though, they're going to want to make a splash and show, Europe that they can compete at this level. Then into Pool B, we have Clermont from France. They were 7th last year in the top 14, currently sitting 10th, so not great form from them. They got to the round of 16 of this competition last year. They are 3 times runners-up, so similar to Racing. Last time was 2017. Clermont really do put a lot of focus into Europe, so that position in the top 14 of 10th, not necessarily going to be reflected in how they perform in this one. So any team that underestimates them based on that is in for a bit of a shock, I feel. Next, we have La Rochelle, 5th place in the top 14 last year. They lost out at the semi-final qualifier there. Currently sitting 4th. Defending champions, winners last year. That was their first trophy, but they've been in the last 2 finals of this competition. So, of the current team, if anybody knows how to make the final, certainly it's them. Going to want to put a decent defense in of their title, and certainly going to be one of the favourites to qualify high up in this pool. Then we have Leicester Tigers. They were 1st in the log in the Premiership last year and ended up being the winners as well. They're currently 5th, so a little bit of drop in form season on season for them. They made the quarterfinals of this competition last year. They are twice winners in 2002 and 2001. They're going to want to now, with all the speculation of Steve Borthwick to England, they're going to want to produce something here now in Europe as well, as maybe a send-off for him, or just to show that there's still life beyond him for the club as well. Then we have London Irish, finished 8th in the Premiership last year, currently 10th. They made the quarterfinals of the Challenge Cup last year. No real pedigree at the top table, though, of Europe for them. Then we have Montpellier, finished 2nd in the log of the top 14, but were the eventual winners. Currently sitting were they in 5th place? Yeah, there. They made the quarterfinals of this competition last year. Again, no real history for them of going deep in this competition. They're going to want to correct that this year, though. Then we have Munster, the almost ultimate European focused team. They were 6th in the URC last year, knocked out the quarterfinal stages, currently sitting 8th, but they are on a run of good form. Made the quarterfinals of this competition last year, which for them in Europe is kind of the minimum that they kind of look at. They're going to want to add to their 2 previous titles. Last one, though, was back in 2008, so a long time since then. Munster, though, as I said, they put a lot of focus on this competition, and they probably get further than you'd probably expect them to get based on their league showing. Next, we have Northampton Saints. They were 4th in the Premiership, got eliminated at the semi-final stage. Currently 6th. They dropped out at the pool stage of this competition last year. They were winners back in 2000. One of the teams that are probably going to be, thereabouts to get the last few spots for qualification for knockout stages. So for them, I feel like a good start is going to be important. Same again as well for Ospreys. They were 9th in the URC last year. They qualified for this competition because they won the Welsh Shield, which means that Glasgow then had to drop down to the Challenge Cup for this year. Glasgow finished in 8th, a place above them. They're currently 14th in the URC, not really having a great season. Eliminated at the pool stages of this competition this year, and unless something improves, it's going to be another pool elimination for them this year as well. Then we have Sale Sharks. They're 6th in the Premiership last year, currently 2nd this year though, so on a good run of form. Made the quarterfinals of this competition last year. If they bring that Premiership form into this competition, you can see them making at least the quarterfinals again this year as well. We then have the biggest of the South African teams, really, the Stormers. They were finished 2nd in the log of the URC last year, but were the champions, beat the Bulls in the final. Currently sitting 3rd on the same amount of points as the Bulls as well. No history in this competition, but I think themselves and the Bulls are probably going to correct that very quickly and go deep into the competition this year. Then we have Toulouse, who are basically like kings of Europe. 4th in the top 14 last year. They were eliminated to semi-final stages. They're currently sitting 1st. They made the semi-final of this competition last year. They're 5 times winners. Last time was in 2021. And, if they get into the knockout stages, they're going to be a very hard team for anyone to beat. So, going to want to add to that, to those 5 titles, and you wouldn't really back against them if they can get deep into the competition. Then we have the Nearly Men from Ireland, Ulster. They're finished 3rd in the log of the URC last year, having led the way for much of the season. Eliminated at the semi-final stage. Currently in 4th. Lost to Leinster in their previous game, dropped them down from 2nd to 4th. They made the round of 16 of this competition last year. They were winners back in 1999. This team need, I think, a big performance in one of the competitions that they're in this year. So expect them to, put a lot of focus on Europe this year, and maybe to go at least a step further. Want to see them make the quarterfinals. So those are your pools. Now let's have a look at the first round of fixtures, because that's really going to set the stage for where teams are going to go from here. Again, there are only 4 rounds of matches, so the pool stages are going to flash by very quickly, and one loss can really put you in a bad position. But the fact that 2/3 of each of the pools are going to qualify, means that losing your first game doesn't mean that you're going to be dead and buried. You can very easily recover and qualify. But first up, we have on Friday, Pool B, London Irish versus Montpellier. It's going to be kind of an interesting one there. Neither team with huge European pedigree. London Irish at home, probably going to be wanting to get a win. Montpellier, probably seeing it as, a team who are not in great form in the Premiership. Maybe they can pick up an away win. Then into Saturday's games. So we have lots of games in Pool A. First of all, mouth-watering tie between Racing 92 and Leinster. You feel like that is one where it's, again, losing that game is not going to eliminate a team, but winning that game is going to set down a marker, and it's probably going to be the first real statement victory from a team this year. Then we have Sharks versus Harlequins. So this is the Sharks of South Africa. Their debut against Harlequins, who don't have a great pedigree in this competition. You would expect Sharks maybe to pull off the win at home and get their campaign off to a decent start. Harlequins, though, they like to throw the ball around, they like to attack, so could be a bit of a high-scoring game there. Then we have Gloucester versus Bordeaux. Another two teams with not huge European pedigrees between them. It's going to be similar, I think, to the London Irish Montpellier game, where you're going to have like team at home thinking, okay, we can get off to a good start, and the away team feeling that they can get something out of the game. Then we have Bulls versus Lyon. Like Lyon, as I said, they qualified as the Challenge Cup winners for this. They are going well at the moment in the top 14 though, but Bulls probably one of the four teams in the URC. Would expect them to win that one. Then we have Castres versus Exeter City. So Exeter, not really at the level that we've seen them maybe a couple of years ago, but still they do have, that kind of mindset to be able to go away to France and win. Not many teams can do that, but they're probably one of the teams that can. But unless they improve their form from the Premiership, probably going to be a home win there as well. Into Pool B, then we have another mouth-watering clash. We have Clermont against the Stormers. So we've got Clermont, who put a lot of they're kind of similar to Munster in that they put a lot into the European campaigns. They're not like the other French teams who tend to, for away games, maybe send a second team or and not really like put all their focus on the top 14. Clermont are a European beast, but Stormers are a real juggernaut of a team. That's going to be an amazing clash to watch between those two as well. So I think in terms of who I'm going to watch, it's probably going to be Racing Leinster and then straight into this game. And really two back-to-back epic games I feel it's going to be between those two. And again, it's going to be one of those ones where either the Stormers announce themselves in this competition on their debut, or Clermont show them that they've got another step to go as well to compete at this level. Then we have defending champions La Rochelle against Northampton. You would expect La Rochelle to win this one because, again, like Clermont, they actually put focus on the European games. They don't just kind of leave it as a second thought. Northampton, certainly going to give them a game. We would expect the defending champions to open up with a home win. Then we're into the Sunday game. So in Pool A, we have Saracens versus Edinburgh. Saracens doing really well in the Premiership, leading the way there. Edinburgh, they've kind of, had some poor form in the URC, which has seen them drop down the table. Got to go for a home win in that one, really. It's going to be tough for Edinburgh to get anything out of that game. Then into Pool B, we got Sale versus Ulster. That one's going to be an interesting one because you got two teams there who, on recent performances in Europe, you wouldn't say that either of them is really going to be a threat. So whoever wins that game there puts themselves in a good position to, qualify for the knockout stages, and maybe then they can actually show what they can do in Europe. Next, we have two teams who, when you think of them, this competition and those two teams really do tell you, how important this competition is to certain clubs. We've got Munster versus Toulouse. So we've got 2 times champions versus 5-time champions. Munster at home in Thomond Park. It's going to be packed. It's going to be noisy. Munster beginning to come into some form in the ERC now, just in time for Europe. Toulouse, 5-time champions. They've gone there before and have gotten wins as well. That's going to be another epic clash, and that's one not to miss, I feel. The last game then that we have of the first round of pool games is Ospreys versus Leicester Tigers. Ospreys not in great form. Leicester not in the form they were last year when they won the Premiership. I feel though that Ospreys are going to have a difficult evening in this one. Leicester probably going to be able to pull off a win. I'd love to see the Ospreys performing well and maybe even upsetting the apple cart a little bit there. It's not often that really, even in big European games, where you see the home team being the probably large underdogs, if we're to be fair, in terms of these two teams. But I feel like I want to see a Welsh team performing well in Europe. And if that's to happen, Ospreys, they have to get something out of the home games, which means that they've either got to make this one close or they've got to actually go and win it, and then get something out of their other home game as well, and maybe pick something up on the road. But my fear is that we're going to see another Welsh team just completely eliminated from Europe at the pool stages, finishing bottom of the pool. I absolutely hope I'm wrong on that, though. I really want to see the Welsh region stepping up in Europe for once, and making that something that happens every year as well. So that's the end to our guide to the first round of pool games. Who are you rooting for? Who do you think are going to be the teams that make the knockout stages, and who do you feel are going to be the teams who are almost, you could almost straight away write their name down and say that they're eliminated?